Do you remember when action heroes stopped being fake? Jason Statham stands as one of the most explosive forces modern cinema has ever witnessed. A man whose body did not just perform stunts, it absorbed punishment that would hospitalize ordinary humans, whose fists connected with real force while other actors hid behind camera tricks and digital wizardry. The street hustler from England who turned poverty into power. The Olympic hopeful who watched his dreams dissolve and rebuilt himself from ashes. The performer who gave us the transporter and crank in The Mechanic in Fast and Furious. Statham was not simply an action star. He was a revolution against everything fake in Hollywood, rising from government housing in Derbyshire with nothing but calloused hands and unbreakable. Well, he constructed an empire on authenticity in an industry addicted to illusion. He became one of the highest paid actors on earth. His films earned billions. His name alone could finance productions. Studios fought for his commitment. Audiences worldwide worshipped his brand of raw, visceral entertainment. Yet beneath the chiseled exterior lived wounds that never stopped bleeding, scars both visible and invisible that tell a story far darker than any film he ever made. Today, at 58 years old, Jason Statham confronts a reality so devastating, it threatens everything he sacrificed his body to build. A physical frame held together by surgical repairs and pharmaceutical intervention that screams in protest every single morning. An industry that made him wealthy beyond imagination, but refuses to see him as anything more than a trained attack dog. Children born so late in his life that mathematics becomes a cruel enemy, reminding him of time he cannot reclaim. The suffocating prison of a persona so powerful he cannot escape it, even when the persona is destroying him from inside. And the haunting question that follows him into every sleepless night, was any of it worth what he paid? As we walk through the triumphs and the devastating tragedy of this extraordinary life, consider giving this video a like as a tribute to a legend as fierce and broken and unforgettable as Jason Statham. The foundation of every warrior is laid in the soil of suffering. Jason Michael Statham entered this world on July 26, 1967 in Shirebrook, Derbyshire, England. He arrived as the son of Barry Statham, a street vendor and lounge singer who understood survival better than success, and Eileen Yates, a dancer whose own dreams died quietly so her children might eat. The Statham household was not cruel. There was no violence or abuse or intentional harm. There was simply nothing. Nothing beyond the bare minimum required to exist. They lived in council housing, government-provided apartments stacked with families who shared one common trait. They had been forgotten by a system that rewarded privilege and punished circumstance. The walls within, the heating unreliable, the future non-existent. Jason learned before he could articulate the lesson that nobody was coming to save them, that the world divided itself into those who take and those who were taken from, that he had been born on the wrong side of that division. His father Barry worked the streets, selling goods of questionable origin to people who could not afford better. He sang in pubs at night for extra money. He hustled and scraped and still barely kept the lights on. His mother Eileen cleaned houses for families who had what they did not. She came home exhausted and fell asleep in chairs meant for sitting. She aged faster than biology demanded. Jason watched both of them disappear into the machinery of poverty. He swore silently that he would escape or die trying. School offered no refuge for a boy carrying that weight. Jason was intelligent but impatient. He understood concepts quickly but could not tolerate the slow pace of instruction. Teachers saw a troublemaker, a kid who could not sit still, a future statistic from the estates. They did not see the desperation underneath, the burning need to matter, the terror that he was destined to become his parents, surviving but never living, working but never building, existing but never escaping. He found his only solace in movement. In pushing his body to limits that silenced the noise in his head, he discovered diving at a local pool, and something clicked into place. The water became his sanctuary. The discipline became his religion. He trained obsessively. Morning sessions before school, evening sessions after. Weekends consumed entirely by perfecting technique. His compact muscular frame was ideal for the sport. His focus absolute. Coaches recognized genuine talent. By his late teens, Jason had earned a place on the British national diving squad. He competed at elite levels. trained alongside athletes destined for Olympic glory, represented England at the 1990 Commonwealth Games. For the first time in his life, he tasted what it felt like to be special, to have people watch him with admiration instead of pity, to believe that the future might hold something beyond the estates. Then reality delivered its verdict with brutal efficiency. Diving is not a profession, it is a passion that demands everything and returns almost nothing. There are no wealthy divers, no diving superstars living in mansions. The sport exists at the margins of public attention. Funding is scarce. Career paths are non-existent. By his early 20s, Jason faced an impossible truth. He could continue diving and remain poor forever, or he could abandon the only thing that ever made him feel valuable and find another way. There was no choice, really. Poverty makes decisions for you. He walked away from diving with nothing to show for a decade of sacrifice. No degree because he had focused on training instead of education. No connections because athletes from council estates do not network with the privileged. No skills beyond physical excellence that suddenly had no market. He was 24 years old. He had given everything to a dream, and now he stood empty-handed in a world that did not care. What followed were the darkest years of Jason Statham's life. Years he rarely discusses in interviews. Years that left marks no camera ever captures. He did what his father did. He went to the streets. He sold goods at markets across London and eventually Europe. Jewelry and perfume and watches, fake designer items presented as authentic to tourists who did not know better. He became a hustler, a con artist by necessity, standing for 16 hours in the cold, talking strangers into purchases they did not need, smiling while dying inside, pretending confidence while drowning in shame. This was not the life he trained for. This was not the escape he promised himself during those endless hours in the pool. This was proof that some people are born to struggle, and struggle is all they will ever know. He later admitted those years nearly broke him completely, that he would return to his tiny apartment and sit in darkness wondering why he bothered continuing. Depression wrapped around him like a second skin. Anger at the world burned constantly. He saw other young men from wealthy families stumble into opportunities they did not earn, while he worked himself raw for scraps they did not even notice. The bitterness became his fuel, the only thing keeping him moving when everything inside screamed to stop. In 1993, a photographer noticed Jason at a market. Something about his presence, the way he moved, the way he commanded attention even while selling fake goods. The photographer asked if he had ever modeled. Jason laughed. Models came from different worlds, but desperation makes you try anything. He agreed to some shots. Those photos circulated. A modeling agency signed him. Suddenly, Jason Statham was appearing in music videos and advertisements. He modeled for French Connection, for Tommy Hilfiger. The money was better than street selling. The work was easier. But he felt like a prop, a mannequin being positioned for other people's visions. It was not enough. It was never going to be enough. He wanted more, but had no idea how to get it. Then, in 1998, fate intervened in the form of Guy Ritchie. The young director was casting his debut film Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. He wanted authenticity, real faces, real energy. Someone told Ritchie about Jason, about this ex-diver and street hustler with an intensity that could not be faked. Ritchie met him and knew immediately. He cast Jason as Bacon, a street-smart operator navigating London's criminal underworld. Jason had never acted professionally. He had no training, no technique, no understanding of the craft, but he had lived the life the character represented. He did not need to pretend to be hungry and desperate and dangerous. He simply was. Lock, Stock premiered and became a phenomenon. Critics celebrated its energy. Audiences loved its authenticity. And Jason Statham, at 31 years old, was suddenly visible. 2 years later, Ritchie cast him again in Snatch, this time alongside Brad Pitt. Jason played Turkish, another hustler, another survivor. The film was even bigger. Hollywood took notice of this raw British presence who felt different from polished leading men. In 2002, everything changed permanently. Jason was cast as Frank Martin in The Transporter, an action film about a driver who delivers packages without asking questions. The budget was modest, the expectations limited. But Jason saw opportunity. He insisted on doing his own stunts, his own fights. His diving background gave him body control that stunt coordinators marveled at. The film was shot with real impact, real hits, real danger. When the transporter released it, became a global sensation, especially in international markets hungry for authentic action. Jason Statham was suddenly a star, not a character actor, not a supporting player, a genuine leading man. The sequels followed, then Crank, then Death Race, then The Mechanic, then The Expendables alongside Stallone and Schwarzenegger, then Fast and Furious joining a billion-dollar franchise. For 15 years, Jason worked constantly. His films grossed over $5 billion worldwide. He commanded $20 million per picture. He had mansions and cars and wealth beyond anything the kid from Shirebrook could have imagined. He had proven every doubter wrong. He had escaped, but escape came with a price that is only now coming due. Jason built his entire brand on one promise: authenticity. He did real stunts, took real hits, risked real injury. While other action stars used doubles and wires and digital enhancement, Jason put his actual body in harm's way. Every single film. For over 2 decades, the human body was not designed to absorb that punishment, especially not for 20 years straight. The injuries accumulated like compound interest on a debt that cannot be avoided. He broke his nose multiple times, shattered his hand, cracked ribs, tore ligaments in both knees, damaged his shoulder so severely it required reconstruction, herniated discs in his spine, suffered concussions that were never properly diagnosed. Each injury healed just enough to work again, because stopping meant losing momentum, and momentum was all he had. He pushed through pain that would sideline normal people for months. He filmed the fight sequences with injuries that should have kept him in hospitals. He refused to show weakness because weakness meant replacement, and replacement meant becoming irrelevant, returning to nothing. Today at 58, Jason Statham lives inside a body that punishes him for every choice he made. Mornings are agony. His joints have no cartilage left. Bone grinds against bone. He wakes in pain and goes to sleep in pain, and everything between is management. Physical therapy multiple times per week. Anti-inflammatory medications constantly. Pain management protocols that require careful monitoring. He has said in rare honest moments that he feels 20 years older than his age, that his body is a monument to damage, but he cannot complain publicly. His brand is built on being indestructible. Admitting the truth would destroy the image that feeds his family. So he smiles through interviews, maintains the facade, while internally everything screams. The industry makes his situation worse. Hollywood loves Jason Statham, the action machine. They have no interest in Jason Statham, the actor. He has tried for years to expand into dramatic roles, to prove he has range beyond fighting. He has auditioned for serious films, reached out to respected directors. Every time he is rejected, told that audiences expect action from him, that changing his brand would confuse the market. He watches actors with half his screen presence win awards for performances he knows he could deliver, but nobody will give him the chance. The same authenticity that made him famous became a prison. He is too real for Hollywood to take seriously. Critics dismiss his films as disposable. Award shows pretend he does not exist. He has generated billions in revenue and receives zero recognition beyond box office numbers. The message is clear. He is a product, a tool, valuable only for performing tricks, and products do not get respected. They get used until they break. His personal life carries its own weight of tragedy. Jason spent his 20s surviving and his 30s and 40s building his career. Romance was secondary. Commitment felt dangerous. Stopping for anything risked losing everything he worked for. He had relationships, but nothing lasting. Then, in 2010, he met Rosie Huntington-Whiteley, a supermodel, 20 years younger, beautiful and successful, and from a world completely different from council estates. They began dating. Jason was 43. Rosie was 23. The connection was real. She grounded him in ways no one else had. For the first time, he allowed himself to imagine a life beyond work. They dated for 7 years before getting engaged in 2016. Jason was 49. Then, in 2017, Rosie gave birth to their first son, Jack Oscar. Jason was 50 years old when he held his baby for the first time. 50 years of surviving and fighting, and almost none of it living. The realization crushed him. He wanted to be present for Jack, to give him the childhood he never had. But his body was already failing. His career demanded constant travel. He was starting fatherhood at an age when most men become grandfathers. In 2022, their daughter Isabella arrived. Jason was 55. Now he has 2 young children and a body held together by medical intervention. The mathematics haunt him. When Jack graduates high school, Jason will be 68 years old. When Isabella graduates, he will be 73. If he is lucky, if his body survives. He watches younger fathers playing with their children, running and jumping and wrestling. He cannot do those things without pain. He tries to hide it from his kids, pretends everything is fine. But children notice. They see their father wince. They see him sit when other dads stand. They see him aging faster than he should. Jason has said privately that his greatest fear is becoming a burden to his family, that his children will remember him as the father who was always hurting, always limited, always old. He traded his body for success, and now success cannot give him back what he needs most: time, health, the simple ability to be physically present for the people he loves. Professionally, the walls close in. At 58, Jason can still perform. His discipline keeps him in remarkable shape for his age. But insurance companies calculate risk. Studios see liability. Every production becomes a negotiation about what he can and cannot do. Younger action stars emerge constantly. They can do similar stunts with lower risk and smaller salaries. They represent the future, while Jason represents the past. He sees the writing on the wall. His brand requires being the toughest, never backing down, never slowing down. But age is undefeated. It conquers everyone eventually. The recovery time between injuries grows longer. The pain management becomes more complicated. The ceiling on what his body can survive drops lower with each passing year. He attempts to transition, producing, developing projects, finding roles that do not require destroying himself, but the industry resists. They want Jason Statham the weapon, not Jason Statham the artist. The moment he stops fighting on screen, he becomes replaceable, forgettable, just another aging star trying to stay relevant past his expiration date. The thought terrifies him, because despite everything, his identity remains wrapped in being indestructible, in being the guy who never quits, the fighter who keeps coming. Without that, what is he? Just another broken body from the estates. Just another man who almost mattered. The tragedy of Jason Statham is not failure. He succeeded beyond any reasonable measure. Poor kid from nowhere who became a global icon, made hundreds of millions, provided security for generations, achieved dreams that seemed impossible. The tragedy is the cost. His body is a ruin. His career is ending whether he admits it or not. His children arrived too late to know him young and strong. He sacrificed everything human to become something superhuman. And now the superhuman is crumbling while the human underneath wonders if any of it was worth the price. At 58, he stands exhausted, looking at a life that appears triumphant but feels hollow. Every scar reminds him of what he paid. Every injury whispers that the bill is not finished. He continues because stopping feels like dying. He shows up because work is all he knows. But joy has become obligation. Passion has become routine, and the clock runs out regardless of how hard he fights. If his story moves you, then consider what you trade for success. What are you destroying today that you will need tomorrow? What dreams require sacrifices you cannot afford? Jason believed temporary pain would lead to permanent gain. He was wrong. The pain became permanent. The gain became temporary. His legacy will outlive his body. But his body had to die for that legacy to exist. Share your thoughts below. Would you make the same trade? Is any achievement worth your health and your time and your presence with the people who love you? Remember that the most important stories are not about victories. They are about costs we discover too late and whether we would choose differently if we understood the price before we paid it.